Now, from the Columbia Basin, your local news source, this is iFIBER 1 News, presented in high definition. The #1 source for real-time local news, local sports headlines, and our very own Weather Center forecast covering the entire Columbia Basin. With your iFIBER 1 News team, reporting news in real time as it's happening. From the iFIBER Communications HD broadcast studio in Ephrata, Washington, this is iFIBER 1 News, and it starts now.
Welcome to iFIBER 1 News. I'm Alan Troop, reporting news from around the Columbia Basin for Tuesday, August 20th. Tonight, we report on the reasons behind Soap Lake firing a reserve officer and how Moses Lake overestimated the revenue generated by the ambulance service. In sports, we catch up with the Moses Lake Chiefs and their performance in the last game of the Babe Ruth World Series. Our spotlight story tonight is about a Soap Lake woman who outran cancer twice and now competes in triathlons. And we have the latest weather forecast for the Columbia Basin from the iFIBER 1 Weather Center. Our top story tonight, a longtime Soap Lake Reserve officer was fired because he reportedly didn't want to adapt to the new chief. Police Chief Glenn Quantz terminated former Reserve Officer Rowdy Yates for what he called an unwillingness to adapt in a termination letter sent to the officer. Yates is a 13-year veteran and at one time the only officer in the police department. He said he didn't have any idea Quantz wanted anything different from him than what he did before. Our iFIBER 1 News obtained the disciplinary letters from Quantz to Yates and Yates' response through a public records request. The issues between Quantz and Yates started in December with a formal letter of correction of conduct and behavior. The disagreements between the two led to a suspension and later termination of Yates as a reserve officer. Quantz didn't want to go into the specifics about the period between the letters, saying Yates is trying to stir up discontent. Quantz said, "Anytime you terminate anyone, there's going to be hard feelings. I don't think there is much to comment on. I wish him the best of luck on his endeavors. It's a very small town. I know there are a lot of rumors and drama around this, and I don't want to add to it." The letters between the two are public records. You can see them and read more about the dispute at our website, ifiber1.com/news. A change in billing companies led to Moses Lake reporting its ambulance service made $615,000 more than it did. The Washington State Auditor's Office issued a management letter to the city during its 2012 audit of the city's finances. The state auditors reported in previous years the fire department reported the amount it made after determining how much it wouldn't collect. The auditors reported the city switched to a third-party company to handle its ambulance billing in 2012. The company didn't use the same formula to report the amount of revenue. The auditors suggested the city set up a process to review the balances in the ambulance fund to make sure they're a reasonable reflection of the amount the city makes from running the ambulance. City Manager Joe Gavinsky said the error didn't affect city services and city staff fixed it. 5 people were injured last night in a 2-car collision on State Route 17. The collision reportedly started when 23-year-old Allison Bear of Ephrata missed a turn about 7 miles south of Moses Lake. The Washington State Patrol reported Bear allegedly pulled a 2004 Chevy Impala off to the side of the road and then attempted to make a U-turn. As she was reportedly making the U-turn, a 1997 Dodge Ram pickup driven by 66-year-old Charles Keith of Pasco hit the car as it was passing through the southbound lane. Bear and her passenger, 21-year-old Mary Owen of Moses Lake, along with Keith and his 2 passengers, 51-year-old Kiva Reichert of Moses Lake and 22-year-old Joshua Lunsford of Ephrata, were transported to Samaritan Hospital with injuries. The State Patrol cited Bear for failure to yield the right-of-way. Each of the people you see here has warrants for their arrest and is wanted by various law enforcement agencies. If you see any of these people, the DOC asks that you not attempt to detain or apprehend them, but to call police. You can also call the Department of Corrections at 509-764-6180 during the day, or 509-762-1160 after 5 p.m. And we will be back after these messages with the latest from our iFIBER One Weather Center, sports, and more news.